much, Madam Speaker, and I'd like to share my time with the member for Mount Royal. Madam Speaker, I never thought that I would be in this House having a debate, an emergency debate like this, with our city, Ottawa, under siege in a state of emergency. We have heard so much today from many members, in particular, the Honourable Member for Ottawa Centre, my good friend, who talked about what is happening just meters away from the House of Commons, what is happening to the citizens, the desecration of our national monuments, including the National War Memorial, of what is happening with the noise, the incessant noise, how it's impacting children with autism, people with dementia, people who have to live in the residential districts around downtown. We have heard about the treatment, the assaults, the verbal assaults, the threats, the way in which people wearing masks are being treated, the people who are working downtown. We have heard that all evening. I'd like to talk a little bit today about the impact on my constituents. My riding is only 15 minutes from downtown, and most of my constituents, many of them, work downtown. Many of them have not been able to go to work, whether it's on Bank Street or at the Rideau Centre. They haven't been able to collect a paycheck for the last 10 days. And those who have had the opportunity to go to work are terrified. They're being threatened. They're being harassed. I had a man write to me to tell me that he works at a church. And this weekend, while at work inside a church, he had to call the police because he was that threatened. I have mothers whose daughters live downtown who have said that their daughters and their friends are facing threats of murder, threats of sexual assault. This is not something that we should be living in the capital city of our country. I was heartbroken when I heard from Jewish mothers in my riding who are saying, how do I explain to my children that people are wearing the yellow star, that people are flying the swastika? What do I say to my children? And this is at a moment where in one of the neighborhoods in my riding, where we have a large Jewish population, there were trucks driving around with vile symbols. This is what's happening in our city right now. We had a mother with autism when they were going down Carling Avenue for hours honking their horns, a mother whose child has autism, who actually said she was taking him to the emergency because there was no other way to get away from it. So yes, it is having an impact. And I have a coffee hour with my constituents every Friday. It's virtual now. And there's a young man, a young racialized man who said to me, I don't understand. It's almost a loss of innocence. How can it be that he can't go downtown in his own city because of the color of his skin? And what was really important about that coffee hour is that people in that coffee hour were listening to each other. We actually had some people who were at the protests attend the coffee hour and hear the impact that it is having on some of the racialized LGBT and other members of our society. And I think that people need to listen to one another more and be decent again, because what's happening out there right now, that is not decent. It is not peaceful. When you're threatening violence, that is not peaceful. And the impact goes even beyond what's happening downtown. The Queensway Carleton Hospital in my riding has not been able to get their workers from Gatineau on the other side of the bridge to be able to come to work, the nurses and the frontline healthcare workers. So people in my constituency are not able to get the help when they're sick. And worse yet, the CHIO, the Children's Hospital, is having trouble. This is the impact that it's having. This is not about political speech anymore. Maybe it started to be about that, but now it is about mob rule. It's about intimidation. It's about bullying, and it has absolutely no place in our city or in our country. So anybody that is saying that this is a peaceful protest, or it's somehow about expressing political opinions, that's not what it is. And I think anybody now, having seen the impact on people, how this is hurting people, it is unleashing hate. Anybody who sees that impact should not be out there posing for pictures or giving coffee. Madam Speaker, I've worked in parts of the world where politicians thought that they could draw that line, that they could toy with these forces of hatred and somehow use them for political gain. And we've seen what happened. I've worked in Sarajevo. I have worked in Kosovo. I've worked in the Congo. You can't put those forces back in. You have to denounce them. You have to denounce them every single time. You cannot stop those forces once you unleash them. You cannot control them anymore. And Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, when people say, why are we not talking to them? Well, I don't think that we want to tell other Canadians that if they were to come with large trucks with lots of noise and threaten people and cause the kind of terror that they've caused to people in Ottawa Centre, that they're scaring people, that if you do that, that's how you can be rewarded by being heard, being listened to. And who are them? I'd like to think about it. They're not the truckers, because 90% of the truckers are vaccinated, and most of the truckers are out there doing their job. And they're not even anymore the people who, like all of us, we are all tired of COVID. We're all tired of the measures and the lockdowns, but it's not even about that anymore. There are people who are a few feet from our House of Commons who are calling for the overthrow of our government, who are calling for harm to come to members of Parliament. That is an attack on the institutions of our democracy, and they want people to lose faith in our institutions. And that is something that we absolutely cannot condone. Madam Speaker, people have asked, what are we doing about it? Every single request from the City of Ottawa, what the federal government has provided. We have 300 RCMP officers. We have tactical and logistical support. We have joint intelligence and operations teams, community liaison teams, and we're coordinating between all levels of law enforcement. But politicians do not direct the police. I personally, this weekend and before this, have been talking to other levels of government. I've been communicating with the mayor, with the provincial MPP. The Prime Minister has been doing that, the Public Safety Minister, from the beginning. And we've also talked amongst parliamentarians about solutions to this, that maybe we need to be looking at the financing of these movements. We need to ban symbols like the swastika and the Confederate flag. And I would say the member from Hull Elmer articulated perfectly the impact that that has on Black Canadians. We need to look at social media and how it propagates hate speech. We need to support the businesses and the workers who haven't been able to go to work this week. But Madam Speaker, as I finalize my words, I want to leave with one thing. Most people are good. Canadians aren't as divided as people think they are. The fact is 90% of Canadians are wearing masks and getting vaccinated and making sure that they're protecting their neighbors. In fact, what we've seen this week, the Shepherds of Good Hope, the homeless shelter where people were trying to get food, and some of the women's shelters are getting more donations than they've ever gotten. The Legion, the Terry Fox Foundation. We have people who live in the neighborhood around the hospital who are saying that those workers who can't get home and back safely can stay in their spare room. We have truckers that continue to go out there and deliver goods. And these are the good people. These are the decent, good people. And I think we need to, as we're living through all of this and seeing all of this, and it starts to affect you and make you wonder about humanity, we need to see that the vast majority of Canadians are good. So I'll leave with one quote from the doctors and nurses in Ottawa. They wrote a statement, and what they said was, "We will not cower. We will not hide. We will wear our scrubs in public without fear, knowing that you, Canadians, have our backs." And that is exactly what we have. Thank you, Madam Speaker.